appears to be, and then you said physical obstruction. Apparent and physical and actual aren't the same thing, right? Like,
The water is physical. The boat
yeah.
appears to be under the water, which is a physical location which can be measured physically by the boat telling me how far away he is.
Okay, so is there like a physical obstruction of Earth curvature there?
The water's physical. The
But
earth
is there
is
a
physical.
physical? Is there a
Boat is
physical?
physical. The boat
Well,
appears to be underwater.
that's what I was asking him. I was trying to get into, is it measurable? Now, obviously, Chris, if it's measurable, then we can't argue. But if you're just giving us a hypothetical, well, yeah, the water, the physical water causes the obstruction. But what are you getting at?
He didn't tell you it was measurable. He just can't measure it.
So is it a
It's variable.
My man, a simple question.
I did
Is
say it was
it
measurable.
a physical obstruction of Earth curvature? Yes or no?
The water appears to be on the deck of the boat. I'm not falling into your little word games. The water
It's not a
appears
word
to be on
game.
the deck
So
of the boat.
if you're making a claim, and implicit in your claim is the reason that the water appears to be on the deck of the boat is because the Earth's a magic spinning ball and is being blocked by curvature. Then inherent in your claim is that there is a physical obstruction of Earth curvature. So now that I have boiled down your inadvertent claim here, and I've said, okay,
I never
so
made a claim.
my man's, you're saying that it's physically obstructed. Okay, so I'm saying,
I
is
never
it
made a
physically?
claim, except
Okay.
for the boat appears to be underwater. That's the only claim. The deck of the boat appears to be underwater, and
Okay,
that is
do
a
you-
physical place on the water,
did not
and it's
hear-
a physical measurable distance.
You
I didn't
agree
hear
that
the
appear
only
is
claim I made.
you agree appear just apparent, right? And so it will appear to be obstructed, will fluctuate throughout the day based on atmospheric conditions.
I don't have a problem with it appearing to change, but it's not going to be like 3.8 miles to 12 miles away during that same day. It's going to be within a range close to the same amount of distance.
No, it can change. It can drastically vary. So what you just said is patently false.
No,
It's really drastically changed.
drastically vary. Tell me the distance of drastic variation.
Is it drastically changing? The angle is only changing to the degree.
No. You keep
Right.
the same
If-
exact angle of view. You keep the same exact distance above the surface of the Earth. And if you take time lapse over bodies of water, I know Globers hate to make actual observations, but when you actually go into the world and do this, you will see that the apparent obstruction constantly fluctuates, and it can actually fluctuate drastically if there is a severe
Have you done
change
that?
in the atmosphere. Yes.
Define the distance of drastic variation, please, because it's not going to be like if the boat is 3 miles away and the deck of the boat appears to be underwater, all of a sudden later on that day it's going to be 12 miles away and appear underwater.
And what
Define
about
the
this?
that real
What if the boat appears to be underwater at 1 mile, and then the same day later it appears to be at 6 miles? Is that pretty drastic change?
How about instead of these ifs, you
define the
actually go
distance,
up
please.
in the chat and you reference the time-lapse GIF showing the actual change of the horizon.
Well, that would just be one select thing you've chosen that doesn't change much, and we're talking about it changing all the time.
I'm not even
No,
talking about the
the
horizon.
point is,
This is already getting where you're interrupting. So who's this guy? Who's this guy
How
talking?
about-
instead of the hypotheticals,
I'm
we
not even
actually
talking
utilize
about horizon.
observations. If you
But
have
this guy's
one of it
already going to
drastically
interrupt, I
changing,
guess.
please share.
Feel free to
Cowbell,
stop
I
interrupting,
don't
dude,
wanna
because
get
I'm
into
being
the argument.
respectful, letting you guys finish. Why don't you just show the same courtesy back?
Well,
That'd be
how
great.
come you didn't? How come you never let me finish? So I never mentioned one word about the horizon. All I'm saying is when the boat appears to be under the water, even though the deck of the boat is not underwater.
That's a horizon.
That is not going to change during the day by very much. Now, I agree. It could change a certain amount, but it's not going to be like from 3 miles out, a mile out, or 12 miles out. It's going to be within the range of 3 miles.
No, it
You
can
know
go
what?
from 1 mile to 6 miles, and that's 6x,
No,
and
it
that's a
can't.
drastic change. Hey, but here's the question: is where the
No, it can't.
water appears to obstruct the boat?
Because by
Is that the horizon?
wait, no, it can't. Because according to our calculations, the average 1.22 times the observer height, it can't only be a mile out because the observer, even at a foot high, would be 1.22 miles. So it can't only be a mile.
Okay, actually, just so you understand your religion, it's 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and it can be no more than that. So it actually can be less than 1.2. It can be at 1 mile. So let's try again as you divert away. Are we actually seeing the physical obstruction of Earth curvature in that moment? Yes or no?
It would be a 1.25 if the observer height is 1 foot. It'd be 1.25 miles away, no closer.
No, that's wrong. It would be no more than that. It can be closer than that, but no further away.
No, the
You
water
don't know how
is going to
geometry
start
works?
obstructing at a mile and a quarter. Sorry, you're
Oh
wrong.
man, this is objectively what your model says. Okay, the maximum extension
Yeah,
of the
I'm
radius,
objectively.
the maximum extension of the radius dictates that the geometric horizon would be no further than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Okay, and when I said it could be at 1 mile, go to 6, you said, no, it could be at 1.2. You're just trying to divert away. So let's say 1.2, and then it can go to 6. Okay, that's basically a 6x change. That is drastic. So once again, the basic
No,
question here is the obstruction a physical obstruction of Earth curvature? Yes or no?
Well, we're going to have to deny your hypothetical because you don't have observations, and we're going to refer to the actual observations and utilize
Okay,
those.
Okay, we're going to actually refer to the actual observations. And in your actual observation, is it the actual physical obstruction of Earth curvature? Yes or no?
In the context you're utilizing it, and the claim that you're making, no, because the actual additional context is that you do have refraction and you do have effects such as looming.
Okay,
Something
so we
that
never
you
see.
have actually historically shown you do not understand the difference between the various forms of refraction.
Yeah, looming is an
So
object
hopefully you
relative
do
to the
now.
horizon. So we're talking about the horizon. But anyway, so you admitted that it's not the physical
Actually,
obstruction of
I
Earth
never
incorrect.
curvature,
once
right?
said the word
Incorrect. We're
horizon.
talking about the apparent horizon.
So
I
we're
never
saying that we
once
don't
said
see
the
the
word
physical
horizon.
horizon.
He's putting words in my
What
mouth,
about this?
Cowbells. I
What
never
about this
once said
image
the word
from
horizon.
this image from Mage Cowbells? Is that the physical horizon?
I never once said the word horizon. You guys are putting
No,
words in
I'm
my
just
mouth.
asking you. That's from Mr. Sensible when he sent his balloon up into the sky. Is that
I could care less about Mr. Sensible. You're
All right. Well, let me
diverting
ask
away
you,
from the point.
Cowbells. Let me post it again, Cowbells. Because Chris, what we're trying to locate is
Yeah.
the physical geometric
Cowbells,
horizon. You know?
do you realize they're putting words in my mouth that I never said? I never once
I know.
said
I'm
the
not saying
word
that you
horizon.
said that, Chris. We're asking a question. Is this image from Mage the geometric horizon?
It would
could
be
care
if
less
it
about
didn't
Mage.
have, what's it called? Is it glaze? Is it occlusion? The actual distortion.
I
So,
could care less
so we say
about Mr.
so you're
Sensible.
saying even in this image we cannot see the geometric horizon.
I'm not
The
saying anything
problem
like
Hold
that.
on,
with it,
Chris.
I'm
Cowbells.
identifying that one of the major problems with this
Mhm.
is how the actual, it's all fuzzy.
I know. So I'm
I
just saying
apologize,
even.
I don't remember offhand the appropriate term, whether it's glaze or occlusion or whatever.
All right, but I'm just asking you, when Mr. Sensible made this, did he see the geometric horizon or not?
I cannot attest whether he
Uh-huh.
saw it or not. I can only actually analyze the information here
Mhm.
that it's because of how it's all fuzzy, you
You
can't
cannot.
actually draw any
Good.
definitive
Good. That's it then.
conclusion
That's
like you're
fine.
trying to.
That's it, Austin. Yeah, that's fine. You can carry on. I just wanted to point out because even at this height, we still cannot draw out the physical geometric horizon, which is good news.
That's
Yeah, you can't have it
incorrect to
both ways,
say
right? You can't
because
say
the
that we never
problem
see it
is
and then say here it is.
We don't have to
the
say
problem is in that
Because-
image it's all fuzzy, making it not able to be discerned whether or not you can actually see it.
What we can do from that image is we can know that the amount of haze, the amount of fuzziness to that horizon is directly proportional to the distance above the geometric horizon. If the geometric horizon was not curving, this hazy horizon would be flat. It's not.
Cabals, look at that picture again. Look at the top left image. Is that one too fuzzy? I'll post it again for you. It's got a smaller, cleaner, clearer shot of the Earth, I think.
It's still too fuzzy.
That's
And I will not just leave it at that. I will actually put forth that you can do an estimation or an average of where it is, but you're still going to have the problem of the hazy actually obstructing or actually making it unable to determine exactly precisely where it is.
That little image in the top there is still too fuzzy to make out the geometric horizon, yeah?
That's not what was stated.
I'm just asking
What
you a
was
question.
stated
Is that top
it
image?
interferes with it getting exactly where it is, but you can actually make an estimation.
Oh, so this is all about estimation. So, see, what Kosho jumped in was say that people think this kid is smart, but he still doesn't even know what the geometric horizon is. I can make the globe Earth argument better than you guys can, so that's what we'll do. I'll make the globe Earth argument, and you tell me what I got wrong. So, yeah, the Earth's a magic spinning ball in a vacuum. Okay, so we have a geometric horizon, but that's just a mathematical construct based on the radius, and we never see the actual geometric horizon because we have something called refraction, and you can never get rid of the atmosphere, so you always are going to get a refracted horizon, but there must be something physical there for you to have the horizon in the first place to be refracted. So if I presuppose the curvature is there, every time I see the horizon, I can say that that is in fact the curvature of the Earth, but we never see the physical geometric horizon.
No, you're just scalping on, so you're going to be cut off.
No, that's your argument. That's your argument.
Monologuing. The fact you've got multiple things wrong there.
And you're setting up a straw man. Because what's going on here is you're saying that because it's refracted, it's not physical. That's not correct.
I just said the opposite. So I know that you're not. I know you're not very bright, but I'll say it again. So the globe Earth argument is that we never see the physical geometric horizon. That's just a mathematical construct because we always have refraction. So when we see the horizon, it's just the apparent location. It's a refraction of the actual geometric horizon that we never see. That's your official argument.
That is not the official argument. You feel free to go look it up and find out what the actual description is. What's actually being
I'm just
described.
trying to nail it down for Cowboys. Now, look at this image of the Earth. See where the sky meets space? The top. Let's look at the top of the ball, for example. Cowboys?
Yes, what about this image? What actual...
At the top, just like we can just go with top, is that the geometric horizon? Where the space meets that curve?
Which way is the top? Hold on, Chemo, which one's the top?
Just the way the image is posted. I'm going to go with... what country we got there?
You got it backwards, dude. Why are you posting a backwards image?
Take any horizon on that ball. Bottom, side, anywhere. Where it meets the base and the ground, is that your geometric horizon?
Chemo, are you saying the black stuff is space?
Yes. In this image.
In every single...
a few thousandths of a degree.
Where space meets the Earth, is that the geometric horizon, Cowboys?
Wait, hold on. Then what's the black stuff in the mage footage one?
I don't know.
Well,
Hey, do you ever see the physical? Do you ever see the physical obstruction of the geometric horizon?
Hold on, Witsit. Hold on, because
I've been asking this for 10 minutes now.
Yeah, hold on. Chemo wanted everybody to focus in on the mage footage, and that's got some black stuff in it. And then he wants to post a picture of a ball that's supposed to be in space. That he says the black stuff is space, but he doesn't know what the black stuff is in the mage footage.
No, we haven't been there.
Obviously, you've been there.
If you're going to stipulate that we haven't been there, then you can't use this image to try and make any sort of strongmans, any sort of claims.
Yeah, but I'm asking
that is kind of
so
weird.
it's one way or the other. You're either have to give up on your other assertions as being false to proceed forward, or you're just going to have to cede?
I'm only asking
Wait,
you. I'm only
Kimo,
asking you questions,
Kimo,
Cabal.
are you saying?
There's nothing
Oh,
to
wait,
concede.
Kimo. Did
I'm asking you,
did
where
you just
is the geometric horizon? So I presented you two
hold
images,
on.
asking you,
We
is this the
saw it.
geometric horizon? So all you've just said, it's too fuzzy,
And-
fine. Then I presented the Earth, and I said, where space and the Earth meets, is that the geometric horizon to you? Just so I understand how you understand geometric horizon.
Well, that's really neat. But here, real quick, you said that you can't go to the black stuff. Isn't the balloon in the black stuff?
No.
It's not. Can you explain how it's not?
It's in the atmosphere.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
So is the black stuff the atmosphere?
I don't know. Never been there.
The balloon is there. Why are you saying that it's not?
Well, you see where the Earth is? Can you show me a balloon in that black stuff, like where the image is here?
Dude, I'm going right off of the image that you posted. The mage cam footage where you want everybody to focus in on the balloon cam and the wide cam. You know, those top left rectangles?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be views from the cameras.
Yeah.
So we got a camera. It's supposed to it's in that black stuff. Are you saying it's not?
I would say it's still in the atmosphere
Wait, how would you know?
because it's fallen down.
That's your go-to is it's not in the black stuff because you don't know what the black stuff is, but you know that it's not in it.
Well, it depends. If you looked at that from 100 miles away, you would see it in the blue.
No, dude. It's got a camera, functioning camera.
Mhm.
3 of them, and
Mhm.
2 of them are capturing the black stuff.
Yeah.
The other one's washed out, obviously.
Mhm.
So, is it or is it not in that stuff? And if not, how do you know?
Because the main image shows us it's in the blue.
That main image is washed out. Try again.
Exactly. That's where they are.
Exactly what that I just said it was washed out?
Yes, they're not
Yeah,
in
the other
black.
2 aren't. Right, the other 2 aren't. So you can't say the camera in the front isn't in the black, but the other 2 are.
Yeah, because like I said, if you looked at that balloon 100 miles away, you would see it in the blue.
Don't care about the 100 miles away thing. We're talking about from the camera itself. Why are you trying to change the subject?
I'm not changing the subject. You want to see
Yeah,
blue,
you are.
right? You want to see blue right in front of the camera.
Never say anything about blue, did I?
But what are you
I
asking
said
me?
the black stuff. Are you paying attention,
To
Kimo?
demonstrate it's in the black.
Come on, man.
You're
It's
claiming
got-
it's
you-
in. You're
you
claiming
see
it's
it.
in the back.
It's right there. The balloon cam and the webcam both show it's in the black. So
No, it's looking at the black, not in the black.
looking at the black. What's
Yeah.
the difference? Wait, you're saying the black is
Above it,
Is
yes.
what?
Above it,
there's a wall. It's above it.
yes,
It's above it.
yes.
You want to really think about that for a moment? It's not across.
Yeah, the black is above the
It's
blue.
not directly across. It's not above it. It's
Yeah,
not,
it's
wh-
above
where
it.
are we going with it?
Yeah,
This is ridiculous.
This is ridiculous. This is what he does. He's not even a ball earther.
Right, so, wait, I'm just trying to, okay, can we just be honest here for a second? Guys, try it out. I know you guys don't ever do this, but try to be honest, okay? I made your argument perfectly. I made your argument more articulate than you guys do. So,
No,
if
you
we
did
never
not.
see if we never see the geometric horizon, how do we know it's there? Well, the answer objectively is we must assume that it's there, and then we must assume that the apparent horizon is a refracted effect of what we assume is there. Someone then posted a picture of
You
a pencil.
misrepresented my argument.
Someone
You
then posted a
misrepresented my argument with it
Someone-
because I never once used the word horizon.
Okay, cool. Shut
and
up.
You're using
So
the
then
word
someone-
horizon, so you're mischaracterizing my argument.
Whenever
You're
you're
also
acting
saying
like
what
it's
we
Earth
must
curvature
do
that's
is not
blocking
what
the
we must
boat.
do.
I never
you guys
said
are such
Earth curve,
gammas.
and I never said horizon.
Okay,
I
so
never said
someone
Earth curve or horizon.
are you gonna keep interrupting like a little bitch?
Chris, don't
You're
keep
the
doing-
one interrupting him. You need to
So
stop
then-
it.
So then someone posted a picture of a pencil in a cup of water and said, "WITSIT must think this pencil's not physical either." Like that was smart. So the difference is I can go physically verify that pencil's there. I can grab it, pull it out of the water, put it back in, physically verify it's there. Of course, the water's not analogous to the atmosphere. And first of all, it's way more dense, but it doesn't even matter because I can verify the pencil's physically there. The question is, can we verify the physical geometric horizon, i.e. the Earth curvature is actually physically there? No, of course I can't go grab it.
I never once said either
How?
word.
WITSIT, we can measure the
never
radius
once
and
said
circumference of the
Earth.
Earth by other means. You don't need the horizon to do that. What you claimed we must do is not what we must do.
How do you measure the radius of the Earth without using the horizon?
There are several methods that you have been presented. There's a complete list of them coming to you now.
Well, how about you just invoke one with some specificity so I can decapitate it effortlessly?
Oh, please. Why
Because
do you
that's
put
an
words in the
impossible
mouth?
thing to do. All you can do is
What?
obfuscate, falsify,
you
can't
misrepresent.
Say the word, then don't say it.
Yeah, you
Blood
misrepresent my
everywhere.
argument because you misrepresent my argument because I never once used the
Every
word
single one of these
horizon,
supposed
geometric
methodologies. Okay, you're just
or
going to keep
Earth
saying the same
curve.
thing over and over. You're gonna, okay. So whenever you said that part of
So
the
are
boat
you.
is obstructed, you are insinuating that it's blocked physically. Okay, by a curvature of the
Yeah,
Earth.
by water.
Yeah,
No.
is the water curving?
The water
Is the water
appears
curving?
to be on the deck of the boat, even though it's not. That's all I'm saying.
It is.
Is the water
To answer
curving?
your question, the question about the pencil being physical, you understand that when the horizon's being refracted, same thing as anything else in the water, there's actually something that is changing its position. So the horizon is not just some imaginary objects over there. Those are real objects that are defining what the horizon is, whether it's the water, the land, anything else.
Well, yeah,
in the
we
water.
have.
Those are physical objects.
Yeah, yeah, we have water. That's physical, right? We have air. Physical for intents purposes, right? So yeah, what creates the horizon is in fact derivative of physicality. But when you look out into the distance, you have a vanishing point. This is an optical effect of perspective. Objectively, if you guys were honest, you would have to admit that. Some of you guys will even deny that. When I look at the end of long railroads, it looks like they converge. When I look at the end of a long hallway, it looks like the ceiling and the floor converge because it's an optical effect. The ceiling and the floor objectively do not converge. Now, although the floor is physical, the ceiling is physical, they're not physically converging, right? And so that's just an optical effect of perspective. And this is what we see when we look over the flat Earth, just like the hallway is
It's like
flat.
a wall
You guys
of
actually
light.
claim that that's a curvature.
It's like a wall of light, not a
That's-
curve.
If I may,
Perspective can never make something that's at your altitude ever appear below your eye level over a
Actually,
flat
if you go
surface.
up, wrong. So if you go up above the Earth, the ground, the Earth is now below you, right? As you go up above it, so it starts to rise to eye level, but it's still below you. So it'll be below you, but has still risen. So good try.
Doofus,
So
Attack
let's move
that
back
straw
to the
man
repeat
instead of actually
WITSIT.
addressing what I
Yeah,
actually
WITSIT,
said.
listen to what
So
he
what I
said and
actually
respond to
said-
what he said.
Curves mad shocker.
So
Shut
what I
up.
actually
Listen to
said
what he
on-
says and respond to it.
Yeah, so what I actually said is perspective never allows something that's at your altitude to ever appear below your eye level over a flat surface.
Okay.
Depends
Well,
on how
good thing
tall
that
the
when we
object
look out at
is.
the Earth, we're not looking at something at our altitude because we're going up above the Earth. So, Curve,
So
I
why
did
do
respond to
things-
exactly what he said, bud.
So why do things at your
No.
altitude drop below your eye level?
They have to be way taller. So if you're at a certain
Lemon,
height above the surface,
you're out of order.
Say you're 6 feet tall of
You're out of
altitude,
order,
you'll
Lemon.
have 6
Curve,
feet
Witsit
let
in
him
a mind
speak.
here.
Curve, it's not a one-on-one.
Top,
Just let him
bottom,
speak.
left,
Let
and
Witsit
right.
finish up getting his ass
Anything
wrecked
that's
here.
taller than the 6-foot zone, top, bottom, left, and right, will just have to set behind the horizon that's in the foreground. So
Oh,
you're
okay.
slightly
Well,
off.
I
Sir.
guess I could just jump in and screw everything up too, right, Chemo?
Well, you can make your point after Lemon, obviously.
Why Lemon? Why can't Lemon make his point after Doofus and Witsit are talking?
Diesel,
That's just the way the
jumped
room
in, someone
goes.
else jumped in.
6
See
feet
how
off
that
the
works?
ground, and there are objects that are taller than
See,
6
what's
feet
its
that need to
fuck?
set behind the horizon in the foreground.
You're
not.
invoking the rodeo clown.
Well, if you want a
Okay,
one-on-one,
so-
if you want someone to focus on WITSIT, then let that happen instead of having two.
It's
three,
just
four.
for the fucking answer to the question. Lemon doesn't need to jump in to answer that question before WITSIT does.
So you
Okay,
can
so
bully
whenever-
WITSIT. Diesel can still make his point, but the thing is, you have 6 feet of even convergence, top, bottom,
Oh,
left,
Lord,
and
here we
right
go.
to make
Yeah,
a
that's already
horizon in the
Lemon.
foreground. But anything that's taller
Yeah,
than
you
that,
just
Diesel will
position
just have
Lemon.
to
Let's
set in the
conversation
background, okay?
Somebody with some fucking sack needs to run this goddamn joint.
Not that he's listening
Why are
anyway.
you always
just really
to be-
attack
you just
with
need
it.
to be a
But
bit
the
more
thing is,
patient.
Diesel, you're wrong, okay? So you need to look into perspective from a different perspective, okay?
Yeah,
Not in a
but
rush.
everything changes.
I have
We have
actually
angular
been
size
listening.
change. We have angular size change with distance, right? And so when we go up above the surface, we're up above it, and then we look out to the distance, and we can actually see that it starts to rise up, right? So whenever it's a little bit below eye level, you guys say this is impossible on a flat Earth
You're
to go all
not-
the way to the eye level.
You're not answering.
Yeah, there's an angular size change with distance, so the optical effect of the object shrinks curved.
You're doofus. Is there some way you can explain this so that he can get it and answer
I
it?
don't think he can get it because
Well,
we're talking about.
He
things
keeps avoiding
at-
it.
Yeah, we're talking
It
about
might
things.
be deliberate on his point to obfuscate.
Yeah, we're talking
Oh,
about
yeah, that's
things
what it is.
at
You guys
our
can't answer if
altitude.
the Earth's a physical obstruction of Earth curvature there, but I'm obfuscating. It's been 20 minutes. You guys still can't answer the question.
So we're talking about things at our altitude that appear to drop below our eye level over distance. When perspective says that can't happen. When
So are you saying it does
additionally-
that because of Earth curve?
So additionally, when we come up with other observations where things are well above our altitude that also appear below our eye level, like this, that I posted
Is there
in
a
the chat
is there a
just
refractive
now,
effect of sinking? Does that exist?
sinking cannot be supported by our atmosphere stably.
So the refractive effect of sinking never happens in the atmosphere.
Not stably, and definitely not at altitude.
Wait, that's not perspective. You're
Stably.
supposed to be answering how perspective
Stably?
causes something above to appear below.
I thought you wanted Doofus to go through this.
Oh, he wants to interrupt.
Are you
while he
coaching?
can. That's
Are
what
you
he
coaching Doofus or something?
I'm not doing a lemon.
You are doing a lemon. That's the point. Let Doofus handle it.
Not even. Shut up, Chemo. Stop lemoning me.
Breaking up, lemon. Doofus, just make your point again.
Yeah, so why do we have observations where some stuff is above your altitude and is below your eye level? Sinking won't do it because that's not perspective. Perspective doesn't do it. And refraction in our atmosphere, because our atmosphere is organized with the highest density below, bends light downward, making distant things appear higher. The Earth appears convex in spite of that.
Yeah, but it depends on your altitude. You're going up to lower densities, right? And so we have refractive effects, one of them being sinking, and angular size change with distance, which you guys don't account for. And so typically things actually do begin to rise to eye level at the same altitude. I just went to the East Tennessee and looked at mountains hundreds of miles away at 6,000 feet up, and the mountains were eye level. Okay? So it doesn't really matter what you
with
say.
what device?
Well, I saw them.
That's not a measurement, is it?
Well,
Why
that's
are
again
you purposely falsifying eye level changing as being the same as eye level fixed?
Are we looking through the atmosphere?
Yes, and it's organized with the highest density below, which bends light downward and makes it appear higher.
So sinking never happens? Is that your argument?
Sinking happens really, really close to a hot surface.
Okay, so sinking does happen.
Yeah, not on the observation that I have given to you in the chat,
Oh yeah, how do you know? How do you know that?
because it's not next to any surface.
It's up high in the air.
Yep, where the density is always highest below, which always bends the light downward, which always makes the distant objects appear higher.
Yeah, so you just make exclusivity claims of always, right? So we have layers of density, and they're different between us and what we observe. The density layers are different, right? And so we're going up above the surface of the Earth. What we're observing is changing angular size. It's shrinking, appearing to shrink with size in the distance. And then we're rising up above the surface level, right? So what we're looking at is actually going to appear to be a little below our eye level. So you said the same altitude, but you don't account for angular size change with distance. You don't account for the refractive effects within the atmosphere. You don't account for the fact it won't always be there, because if I sit there for another hour, it will appear to rise a little bit. So it is not because it's ducking down behind a ball, or it wouldn't rise.
So go ahead and not address any of the things I said and say that it's perspective again, even though I demonstrated that it cannot be perspective. I demonstrated that it cannot be sinking. So you're just going to go ahead and repeat that it could
No,
be.
you didn't.
Yes.
Yes. The atmosphere up there at that
He's gonna go
altitude is always going to be organized such that the highest density is below.
Okay, you're just saying things because objectively, if we take a time lapse, the object will go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and it's not because the Earth's breathing in and out. It's because of the atmospheric conditions, i.e., the refractive effects.
Do you have a video
Do
of that?
you
Is the
have an
mountain up?
observation of that particular mountain from that mountaintop that does demonstrate that the distant mountain is going up and down and up and down and up and
Now
down?
you're asking me, do I have a particular observation where I've traveled to the mountain that you've selected and cherry-picked an observation of? Stop interrupting me so much. So
Dude,
now
that's
I
what I'm
need to
saying, dude.
stop interrupting me. So now I need to go to the mountain that you've decided, take a time lapse that you didn't do so that I can debunk your claim of cherry picking one singular picture when I've objectively dismantled your entire argument with the simplicity of the fact that you can time lapse objects.
So you're going to be interrupted here and ask the question.
Hey little
do you have
girl, stop
any
interrupting me. Stop
No,
interrupting
you
me.
did make the
No,
claim, though.
you
Witsit.
are not being interrupted. The question
Okay,
is,
so when you take time lapse of the
any
objects in the distance,
observation.
they'll go
You
up and
can
down,
pick
up and
one.
down, up and
You can
down,
pick one.
which shows
Stop interrupting
objectively.
there.
No, you're interrupting.
The actual question
you
is,
for repeating
you may
yourself
pick
the
any
time.
observation, anything.
Let's try to argue
goes in
Austin
your
10v1
court.
and we still have to interrupt him because he still dismantles me. So
Come
when we take
on.
time lapse of objects in the
You're
distance,
not,
they'll go
though.
up
That's
and
why
down.
you're getting interrupted.
When
Yeah,
we
but the
take
point-
time lapse of objects in the distance, they'll go
What
up
was
and
the
down throughout the
question
day.
presented?
Well, hold on
you.
a second
Oh
there,
my
Austin.
God.
Hold on a second, hold on. Cabals, doofus. Okay, so when you ask your question in the middle of, obviously, Austin, we can't even hear your question.
No, it's not in the middle. It's actually cutting him off because he's monologuing on and gish galloping. The
But-
question is still valid. Perhaps you would like to
It
ask
could be
it.
valid, but
For
we can't
him to
hear the
provide
question, and then we
any
end up
observation
arguing about
instead of
when should we
actually
start, who
getting
should
into
finish,
this
when can we
cherry-picking
talk,
nonsense.
why should we interrupt, and nobody hears anybody. So what I'm trying to say is we've got to be a little bit more patient. We have to be more
That's
Yes, I am
patient.
being
The
extremely
problem
patient.
is
There
that
is
he's
no
not
rush.
addressing
And you know
the
this.
argument.
There is no rush. Really.
So maybe you would like to ask the question, Chemo.
No, I'm just trying
I
to
got a
bring
solution,
a
Kimo.
certain element of order, and the idea of
Yeah,
that.
I got a solution for that order.
Yeah, so
Chemo.
Witsit, just make
Why
your
don't-
finish.
Kimo,
Hold on,
wait.
Kosho. Hold on a second.
Chemo.
Kosho, I'm speaking. You're talking all over me.
Yeah, I
You're saying
know,
chemo,
Kimo, I'm
chemo,
trying to-
chemo, and I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
in the
yeah.
middle of talking. You're saying
Trying to make a
chemo,
point to you,
chemo.
Kimo.
Again, I'm talking. You in the background saying chemo, chemo. I've just been saying about the interruption. Then you're going chemo, chemo, chemo. The very point I've just been making. Then no one can hear anybody. Then I can't. No, I can't make a point. Then it has to be extended. Where we could have just had
Hey,
Witsit's.
chemo.
You don't have so
Me
angry,
and-
Then we could have just
me
had
and
Witsit's
Witsit are
point.
a lot
Witsit
Calm
making-
down,
me and Witsit are a
chemo.
lot
Well,
the
like I
same.
said, I don't understand why when I'm
Except
just
for
explaining
Mark,
something.
Mark
Kosho's
Calm
my-
down, chemo.
Never
Quit
get asked to
spazzing
get answered.
out.
Wow, dude, guys, can you please stop? Can we all grow up?
Oh,
That'd be great.
Witsit, quit interrupting everyone.
All right, so
Wow.
can we get back to the question? Let's start with the question, and I think Witsit, because it is their room. Let's give them the time and date. How about what's this question that you're so desperate to ask?
I needed to get your attention. Was because I think I can't sit and mute people on my phone while I'm driving, but I think that maybe if we all have a no tolerance idea of
Kosho.
interrupting, and then complement that with making just one point at a time, so nobody feels the
Kosho,
need
I've
to
just
interrupt.
said all this.
I think if chemo, I think if we administer this sort of policy for this conversation, I think we could alleviate some of those problems. Okay, so just
Right.
nobody interrupt anymore,
Kosho, I've just said
including
all this.
myself.
Hey,
I'd like to
Hey,
jump in for
Kosho.
1 second.
that's awesome. Go ahead.
If you look at the video I just posted, I'd like Witsit to show me that mountain going up and down, up and down, up and down in the time lapse posted.
Okay, so since you showed me a picture where you can't see it moving, that must mean it never moved, right? So we have time lapse all the time of objects in the distance, and that if there's extreme changes in the atmospheric conditions, you will actually see that the object in the distance will go up and down throughout the day in the time lapse. And of course, the Earth is not breathing in and out Okay, it is objectively because of atmospheric conditions showing you that it will appear to go up and down based on the atmospheric
any-
I
conditions.
don't know if
mountain-
you noticed, Witsit, but what he posted was a time lapse, not a picture.
I
have
just
any
now said
mountaintop
that if you
videos?
have a time lapse where there is not a severe change in atmospheric conditions, that does not mean that it never happens.
Do you have any time lapses of mountains going up and down, up and down, up
Sure,
and
I'll have to
down
find them.
from an elevated point?
Yeah,
you have to be
it's not
elevated on
drastic,
both ends.
of course.
Oh, really? You do? Oh, I'd love to see it. Please do.
Yeah, I'll have to find them. You guys are saying that you never look at objects in the distance that go up and down. Is that your claim?
That is not the claim. The claim is that they don't do that from mountain to mountain.
So if there's any drastic change at all at the position of the mountain, you admit you're wrong? If there's any change at all?
If that observation was made from another mountain, yeah, we could admit that we were wrong, but that doesn't happen.
So if it moves at all, you'll admit you're wrong?
Now you said from drastic, you changed it to at all.
Yeah, no, so that's what I'm saying. Okay, so if the mountain changes at all, will you admit you're wrong?
It can change by 0.01 degrees and it would still be fine. If it changes by 0.1 degrees, then it's not fine because we don't see that.
My question is, why did it change? When it changed, why did it change?
Hold on. Pony up the evidence first. It's your claim.
No, wait. No, time out. Calm down. Whenever
dude.
he just admitted. No, see, the reason that I don't go get observations in advance, I get specific as to what you're contending because it's a waste of time.
Because you'll never actually show it.
Interrupting, you little girl. So whenever it does change, what made it change?
If it changes, it changes by a very tiny. If changes by a very. Hold on. If it changes ever, it always changes by a very, very tiny amount, less than 0.01.
That wasn't the question.
Because the change in the apparent position from the refracted position to the geometric position is proportional to the gradient, which is proportional to the density of the gas, which is proportional to the pressure at the same temperature. So if you have a really low pressure system and a really high pressure system, you could conceivably get almost 0.01 degrees change, but you're never going to see more than that. And that's the point I was making.
Okay, so you've admitted that because of atmospheric conditions, it will change, which was what my argument was. Now, when you're looking at mountains from, say, 100 miles away or less, and you're at very high elevations, you're not going to see as much of a change. Because as you get higher, you're looking through less dense atmosphere. And then you're looking at the highest elevation over there, also in a less dense portion of the atmosphere. So change is not going to be as drastic.
That's our whole point of not being 1 foot off the surface of the earth.
Every time. It's every time. I'll let that guy finish his whole thing, and then you had to interrupt, like every time. Okay, so whenever we look and we see it changing, it proves that it changes because of atmospheric conditions, which was my point that you guys contended at first and asked me to go cite it. Now we're admitting that it does in fact change. Okay, cool. Welcome to Austin's argument. That's what I'm saying. Now you said that it goes from the geometric to the apparent. No. The point is that you never see the exact 100% geometric location.
You actually made your point, and it's going to be responded to that no, that was not your original claim.
Yeah, my claim was that the mountain changed based on atmospheric conditions.
You're going to have to pay attention to what I actually said, though. What I said that it's never going to be more than 0.01 degrees difference, and the observation I presented was more than 0.1 degrees lower for something that's at a higher altitude, which doesn't make sense on an Earth with no curvature.
Do the mountains get smaller in the distance? Do they apparently get smaller?
Does perspective ever allow something above your eye altitude to ever appear below it?
Well, it's shrinking in size, so.
So let's go back to perspective again. Does perspective allow something above your altitude to ever appear below your eye level?
Yeah, whenever you combine perspective with refraction. So when you look at the mountains in the distance, they shrink with angular size once you increase the distance. And then you add refraction. It's going to affect it more drastically because the apparent size has changed.
Witsit, welcome to the conversation where I have already mentioned that both perspective and refraction cannot explain the observation I presented.
then you're just making baseless assertions, because when something changes in the distance with angular size, then the refractive effect on the apparent optical size will be much more drastic relative to its size because it's smaller. So something changes with angular size in the distance, and then the refraction is going to affect that optical apparent size more drastically because it is much smaller. So try
If you
again.
make that argument, then you mean to make the distant mountain appear even higher than that, because you're saying refraction is more of an effect on that mountain, and we know refraction from the gradient that we have is going to bend light downward to make distant things appear higher. So that makes your argument even worse.
You just say that, but actually we're up at a higher altitude with a less dense atmosphere. And so we have the angular size change with distance, and then we have refraction moving that mountain a little bit. So we're not seeing the physical actual location or size of the mountain, and yet you're trying to then walk over here and tiptoe to the fact that we're seeing the physical actual location of it due to curvature. Yeah,
It's funny that you said I just say that when I said the refraction is going to bend light down. The funny thing is that gradient index refraction, gradient index lenses, gradient index everything is such a well-known thing that we do use it for the communications. It just surprises me that you don't know that light has to bend downward in the atmosphere.
That's why you're doing this. So whenever you see the angular size change with distance, and you look out and you're looking through refractive effects, you will see that the mountain appears to get smaller, and you also see that it will move a little bit based on the atmospheric conditions. But then you're trying to tiptoe over here. Then objectively, what we know is that's just an apparent location and an apparent size, not actual. But then you're trying to tiptoe over here and say that it's actually because of a actual physical curvature.
Which direction will it move? And
It'll
here's a
move both
helpful hint.
directions.
Maybe if you would actually listen to what he said, you would know.
It'll move both directions.
How?
Yeah, it'll go up and down, up and down, up and down.
How?
Up and down, but it doesn't make them appear closer or further. It just allows you to see further.
I never said that.
Yeah, I know, right? But you're saying your argument about the angular size changing, or the angular size from it moving in the distance, and then refraction on top of that allows it to appear higher or lower. But like Doofus said refraction, and if it's more extreme in the distance, that mountain should appear even higher than it is, not lower.
It goes lower and then higher. It goes up and down.
But overall, it goes up. Yes, there is fluctuations. It will shift up and down, but it's not enough to actually achieve what he originally asked you of showing it going below eye level.
Yeah, you're just strawmanning us, saying that we think that it should never be below eye level, and I, as a flat earther, have never said that, because you're increasing your altitude and you're looking at something that has shrunk with angular size. Okay, so all you're seeing is the apparent size, the apparent location, and then a fluctuation within. And now you're trying to say the apparent size and the apparent location is actually due to an actual physical curvature, which is stupid.
No one said that.
You are saying that.
No. People have been trying to engage with you in regards to perspective and refraction, supposedly on the flat Earth. You're avoiding both of them.
You're avoiding it on the globe Earth, because what you're trying to say is this is impossible on a flat Earth. That's called a claim of exclusivity, which means that by deduction you are claiming it's happening on a globe Earth. So you're saying that what we observe the mountains to be doing is a result of the Earth curving, right?
How about explain how it works on a flat Earth?
No one can answer. No one can answer. So are you claiming that what we observe the mountains to be doing is a result of the globe Earth curving? Yes or no?
Why are you tap dancing? We're talking about perspective. Oh, go ahead.
Are you claiming that what we appear to see is because the Earth is curving? Yes or no?
That's a malformed question.
Mountains are getting lower. We're asking you, based on the two mechanisms that you just brought up again about refraction and perspective, what is it that allows the mountains in the distance to appear below eye level and small and lower than they're supposed to be? What
Yeah, well,
mechanism is that?
there are numerous variables, right? So you have angular size changing with distance. You have refraction, which will make the mountain go up and down. And then what angle that you're making the observation with also changes everything. So if you have the camera tilted down, it'll be different than if you have the camera tilted up, or if you have it level, right? So can you verify that the camera is level? Can you verify that you didn't tilt it up or tilt it down? Can you show us the time lapse of no change? And once again, for the millionth time, you're looking at the angular size change with distance, which is apparent. You're looking at the apparent location, and then you're trying to conflate that to being a result of curvature. So what angle did you make the observation with?
WITSIT,
That's a
are you
malformed
saying
question because what you're trying to describe as all these cumulative effects is not actually what's observed. And you're trying to compare what you're trying to describe, which is incorrect, to actually the Earth curvature and the effects
Hey, would the
of that.
observation be different if you tilted the camera at different angles?
How would that affect the observation?
Because your angle of view is different.
How does that change angular size change over distance?
No, okay. You once again, you're just always going to strawman everything. So
That's
you
not,
have an
no,
angle.
you made the claim. That
Are you
tilting
saying that?
your
Wait, time out. I want to see if the rest of
that.
the room agrees with this guy before we go on. So if I move the angle of the camera, will that affect the observation? Yes or no?
It will change your point of reference. It won't actually change the observation. And that's a problem that you have, is that you are purposely changing the point of reference and trying to use different points of reference as one and the same.
No. If you tilt the camera down, it'll look differently than if you tilt it up or if you have it level. And you guys haven't even accounted for that variable. You can't even show that it was level or tilted up or tilted down.
The question was, how does that affect angular size change over distance?
Who said it did?
You did.
No, actually, what I said was, and of course, it actually would affect what you perceive objectively, but it wouldn't
make
check
up your mind, man.
But the angular size, I know you're very lost. The angular size is proportionate to distance, okay? But we have atmospheric conditions as well. The angle that you view something in the distance is going to change what you're viewing because you're looking through a different angle of the atmospheric conditions. So I'm going to ask for the fifth time in a row, when you tilt the camera up and down, will that affect what you observe? Yes or no?
How is it supposed to affect it?
The context that we're describing, and that Doofus was specifically talking about, was the object being above or below your eye line, meaning like the mountain is above your eye line, something below it obstructing it. If you tilt the camera, that's not going to allow something below your eye line to obstruct something above your eye line. That's just going to take the thing above your eye line out of the frame of the image. But if it's still in the frame
I'm
of
not
your
talking about out of the frame.
Yeah, I know, but if it's not out of the frame, then it's not going to affect. It's still not going to make something below your eye line obstruct something above it.
Yeah, like
so
the infamous
either
picture
something
Ricky
below
showed,
the
right?
eye level, or the metric that you're using to determine eye level is questionable. How do you know what is at eye level and what is not?
So the height of the observer.
Are you using the reticle of the instrument? Because as I said before, the reticle is for all intents and purposes an object with thickness that will disappear, meaning that your level line will disappear and become unreliable. So I think what's happening is you're using a bad metric to determine what level is that is disappearing. Because you can't talk about something going above or below eye level unless you know what eye level is in some sort of stable, reliable way.
Lemon, the height of the observer.
Yeah, the physical height of the observer, but now you're looking at an apparent location. Do you understand what he's saying? So you know your physical elevation, you know the physical elevation of the mountains, but when you look at it, you're not looking at the physical location of the mountains, you're looking at an optical apparent location, right? So how do you determine eye level, and what angle did you make the observation at? And you have angular size change distance, and you have refracted effects. You guys lose. Object.
Eye level is a perpendicular to your current position.
How do you determine that?
I would agree with that, Brenda, yes. But the thing is, if you're looking at the reticle, the crosshair of the instrument, that for all intents and purposes is an object with thickness that will disappear, meaning your level line will disappear and become unreliable. So we have questionable optical principles here that need to be thoroughly examined over a flat plane.
especially when you're
That's
making
not how
claims
that
about
works.
You're wrong.
0.001 degrees.
So eye level is a perpendicular to your current observer position. How hard is that
Do you
to figure
think-
out?
Do you think that that perpendicular line will be maintained as level and visible from beginning to end of the observation when you're looking through that instrument, Brenda?
You're out of touch with the conversation. We're not talking about
No, he's not.
measuring that position.
Brenda,
We're not talking about
that's
measuring that
wrong.
position.
Your assumption that
we're
it
talking
would be
about what that
maintained is
position
wrong.
is.
Answer the
We're not
question,
talking about-
Kosho.
We're not talking about
You're
identifying the
interrupting,
level
Woodson.
line. Yeah, we're not talking about identifying the level line. We're not talking about knowing which
If you
level
can't
it is.
identify
We're
the
talking
level
about
line, then how do you know what went above or
Hold
below the
on,
level line?
We're
Lemon.
talking about that
Wait.
when you're out of touch. We're talking about the
No,
height
the
of
entire
You can't even
claim-
determine
the
what the level
entire
line is.
claim-
How do you know
the height
what
of the
went above or
observer.
below the level line? That's
We're
absurd.
Lemon, we're talking about the height of the observer. That's it. We're not talking about measuring that.
No,
The
that's
height of the
not all I'm
observer-
talking about, Kosho. No, you're lying.
The height of the observer is known from his position, and the height of the mountain we can know is higher than that position if he's on the surface. So that's you don't need to
Okay.
measure these things with an optical
No,
device. We're just
no.
saying
What the claim was,
things that are below that line can't physically obstruct things above that line. Not that you
but
need to
Kosho, what the
measure it.
claim was, the claim for your side right now is that it's below eye level, and he's saying, how can you make the claim something's below eye level if you can't accurately determine what eye level is? And you're saying it's not related.
Your height. Yeah, use your height. If you're talking about the
I've already
surface of the
explained.
water, you know the water is lower than your height.
I've explained that you know your height, you know the mountain's height in the distance, but you're not looking at the actual mountain. You're looking at the apparent location of it. So if you say that the mountains are below eye level and this is impossible on a flat Earth, you're going to have to accurately determine eye level, are you not?
The theodolite does so.
Oh, there's no
we're not-
variance. It's perfect all the way to the mountain.
Eye level,
We're not
as determined from your is done with the theodolite.
Oh, is
We're
that
gonna have to challenge that presumption because it looks like the theodolite level line is disappearing. So we're
It's
gonna have
not
to
a
test that
presumption.
presumption.
It's a definition.
Yeah, don't use a theodolite. Yeah, from your position, your height, the mountain's height. All you got to do is think the water below in between you is below that. We're not talking about an apparent eye level. We're talking about the actual level of the observer.
You
The
gotta
level
check
of the
that
observer as
presumption
he
with
looks
the
into the
laser.
distance. As he looks into the distance, it will intersect the same height at where the mountain is. If it were a flat plane, the water would all be
Perpendicular to the
below that line.
surface would give you level, yes. But the thing is, the sight of what level is visually will disappear just like any physical object will visually. So your level line will be determined by perpendicular to the surface, sure, but eventually it will disappear. That's where the fallacy is coming in. You're assuming that your level line is preserved from beginning to end with the observation. That's not the case, especially as you get close to the surface. It's going to disappear and be eaten up by the surrounding visual information. So your level line can only be preserved for like a couple miles before it's practically useless.
Yeah, the theodolites are laughable. They're not even close to accurate over these distances you're invoking. So,
All right. So Lemon has dismissed Balaton. That's good.
you guys are just losing. You guys made the claim that the mountain is below eye level, but we can't determine the accuracy of the presupposed eye level. But don't worry, just skip over that because we have to make our claim.
Lemon is saying that, WITSIT.
I'm
Yeah,
not saying
also,
anything of the
WITSIT, you did
sort.
just make a
Why are you
claim.
strawmanning us?
No, that's what you said. You said that the mountains are below eye level.
When did I say that? Timestamp. When did I say that?
Your side has said that the mountains are below eye level.
No, I don't have a side. I got me.
And you agreed. Hold on,
You
WITSIT,
guys
you
have been
agreed.
saying that the mountain is below eye level.
Hold up. You agreed and gave excuses for why
I didn't agree. I didn't agree. I didn't even look at it. All I said was there are numerous variables.
Dude. Hey, you said you made claims that it would be above and below eye level due to.
Nope, that's not
What
what I
was
said.
that again?
Let me say it again.
Look
Let me
at
say
it.
again. What I said
He
was
made
it goes up-
excuses and gave answers, not even looking at it.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
because I know
Wiz.
you guys don't account for the variables. What I said was it will appear to go up and down. I never said below or above eye level. I said that it will appear to go up and down throughout the day with time lapse because of atmospheric conditions.
What's
And
your
the Earth's not physically breathing. It's not changing its actual location. It's an apparent effect, but you guys are trying to conflate that to physical
No
obstruction
shit,
of Earth curvature.
dimwit.
Yeah, and by how
Uh-oh.
much did we not go into that?
But yeah, so how do you know how much? You would have to know where eye level is to know how much, right?
You're making the claim that it shifts up and down irrespective of eye levels. You only have to know how much from lowest to highest.
In order to know how much it changes, you'd have to know where eye level is, right? Yes or no?
And this is
No.
supposed to be due to perspective.
You don't. Where'd you get
But
the degree
he's
from? Then?
danced away from perspective and gone into refraction now to try to come up with something
No,
else.
I've talked
to
about
hide
perspective
from
and
the fact
refraction the whole time.
That
You're
he
a liar.
erroneously claimed that perspective would cause this crossing.
No, I did not. No, I did not. I said that you have to account for angular size change with distance. You have to account for
You're
refractive
just-
effects.
That is
You have to
perspective.
account. You
You're
have to
losing.
account for angular.
You're just
You have to
losing.
account-
Deal with
No,
it.
I'm
Gamma.
not. No, I'm not. That's why you have to interrupt and straw man me. Oh yeah, let's just tout victory. That must mean we're right. So you have to account for angular size change with distance.
That's
You have
just
to
Which is
account for
perspective.
You guys
That's
are gonna interrupt me every
your
time
playbook,
because you're a
dude.
bunch of little bitches, dude. So you have to account for angular size change with distance. You have to account for refractive effects. You have to account for the angle in which you make the observation. And if you're going to then invoke a degree variance away from eye level, you would have to objectively demonstrate that you know what eye level is.
Fine. Deal with angular size in conjunction with perspective in the center of your field of view, and tell me how the changing angular size causes it to cross.
So you're saying find straw man Austin, and then you argue from a straw man position.
Do not say I
Stop
said
interrupting
anything.
me, Curve. Stop
Answer
interrupting
the
me.
fucking
Stop
question.
interrupting me. Stop interrupting. So
You
you're saying
answer
no.
the question.
Oh my God! You're saying answer the question from the straw man that I've created for you, where you're now just going to answer within the parameters of angular size change alone,
All right.
perspective alone. When I never said that, I said there's numerous variables. I've
you
laid them
apply
out like
Wait a
10
minute.
times.
So to
Yes.
clarify, perspective will not cause it to cross the center line, correct?
Perspective it will change the angular size change with distance. You have to account for that with the other variables, Curve. You don't be remedial.
Wait a
You
minute.
just account
Okay.
for one thing at a time. That's dumb.
Why do you
Yeah,
keep
so-
bringing up angular size as though that's a cause of it crossing the center line?
No, I just said that the
You
refractive
need to
effect is
determine that it crosses the center line because of actual position going up and down over a ball.
Yeah, so
The
if
funny
we,
thing that we
Why
didn't
don't you
get
go
to
up and
yet.
down on a ball?
The
Yeah,
level
so
line is giving you a
so
reliable level, and you're not sighting properly to the object. You need to
The funny thing
double-check
that we
in
didn't
something
quite
with
get
a
to-
laser.
Well, the funny thing we didn't quite get to was each of the individual things that WITSIT has claimed will make it possible for this to happen, individually taken, will not allow for this to happen. So all of them together will not allow for this to happen.
no. All I said was you didn't account for all the variables, and you're acting like you have a home run. You didn't even account for the angle you viewed it at. That will objectively change what the mountains look like. Objectively.
The
Then
theory
ahead.
tells you what angle you're viewing it at, dipshit.
Okay,
Then
so
go
would you?
ahead and
With
actually
intolerance, but it's not going to be 100% accurate. It's going to be off just slightly, and before you know it, you're sighting off into the air randomly. So you
Then
need to
go-
double check your
that's
assumption with a
incorrect.
laser.
you made your point.
Theodolites
Ryan.
are broken. Lemon 2021.
The question
They
is,
have
go
a
ahead and
maximum
account
range, an
for the
optimal range
actual
beyond which they're effectively useless.
variables.
Theodolites
and
don't have
see,
a range
does it
maximum.
actually
Yeah,
shift?
they do 150 meters or less is where you know it's accurate. I just read it.
Auto levels
150
have a
meters.
maximum for stadia tachymetry. Theodolites don't have a distant maximum.
I'm reading a theodolite website though.
Basically, this
Go pull
maximum
it up
distance
right
is where
now.
you'll get all
I'd
parts
love
of the
to.
object before it starts to converge, merge, and disappear and make your observation unreliable. Then parts of the object will begin to merge, converge, and disappear, making it increasingly off, especially toward the surface.
Yeah,
So
the
gotta look
accuracy
How
at
many
is
these
different
disproportionate to
ways can
distance.
you say that?
Accuracy is disproportionate to distance.
Then go ahead
There's two
and
main
account for
points.
all these variables and see, does it actually shift from above eye level to below eye level?
You would
Oh,
have to accurately establish eye level to know that, wouldn't you?
yes,
That's
you would.
what the
No, they would straight
theodolite
out-
does.
No,
And
it's
parts
not.
of the object
but no.
will eventually be
Guys,
dropped
you
from
don't-
the eye, dropped from the observation, and appear to go below the quote-unquote curve. It's just visual information that's
Instead of
simply
arguing
dropped
about-
because the eye can't process it.
Instead of
Correct.
arguing
Then
with
go
Lemon about
ahead and
theodolites,
establish the eye
and
level.
Cowboys. Yeah, you don't have
You
to
guys
do
can't
that.
establish the eye
Because
level.
you guys, there's two main points that is not being addressed, but you said it, Doofus and Cabals and Curved as well. That there's all these different phenomena that he's alluding to. None of them on their own can cause this. We've already addressed it. That's what Curve was trying to get to with perspective.
But what you're
Perspective
claiming
can't
is
cause
being
that.
caused
That- the
because the problem is you need to
the
substantiate
refraction
that.
alone can't cause it. So you putting them together, and the angle, I told you, the angle can't cause that. So putting those things together doesn't cause it. They're trying
Okay,
to get
but
you
in
to see
order
that
to
none of
make
those
the
things
claim,
can cause it. How are you saying them together can cause it?
Kosho, what you're saying can cause it. You haven't even established it as a real thing because you haven't accurately established eye level to make the claim that something is below or above eye level. All I said was you're just looking at an apparent location that constantly fluctuates based on angular size change of distance, atmospheric conditions, the angle that you're viewing it, and then you're trying to conflate that into an actual location on a curved surface. That's dumb. Now you guys are trying to say that I'm saying that it is in fact dropping below eye level. I never said that. I'm asking you to verify that it's doing that because it's your claim.
Eye
That's
level on a
false.
flat plane is simple enough to understand that it's the same height, like Brenda said, perpendicular to your downward. So you're at your height. That's your eye level on a flat plane. It's not. You don't need a tool to determine what it is. It's at your height. So if your height at some other distance, the same elevation is the same level of the eye on a
So you
flat
say you
plane.
can just guess? You can just guess what it is?
No, you don't guess what it is. I just told you what it was. At the exact same height as the observations being made, that level and elevation from any if you're going along the surface of the water, then the elevation is not going to change on a flat plane.
You're right, because it's flat. And so you're saying that whenever you have the same exact elevation as something in the distance, right? So if we have the same exact altitude or elevation as something in the distance, you're saying that's eye level, but then you're determining that optically looking through the atmosphere and you just have the apparent location. So you're saying you have to just assume eye level. Then you guys have come and actually cited specific degrees relative to eye level without even accurately determining eye level.
That's
Yeah,
the point, though. That's where eye level should be, but that's
Should
not
be.
where it is.
You're saying should be based on the optical effect. You're just making claims that are not supported in any way.
The beautiful thing is that, like, when you use a not piece of shit camera, if you actually use a nice telescope that actually accounts for the angles at which you set things, you could set it to 0, 0, and you could look straight ahead, dipshit.
Is what you're looking at, hey, dipshit, is what you're looking at changing, dipshit?
Yeah, no.
Okay, so you're a moron. Yeah, it is, objectively.
No, so, like, when you look straight ahead.
Well, how about
right,
you keep your little
you're gonna
ad hoc names to
yeah,
yourself, bitch?
So when you
because
look straight
you
ahead,
sound
and
dumb.
you see the sun, when you look straight ahead and you see the sun below the 0, 0, thus being your eye level, what does that mean?
You're looking at an instrument that has tolerances. It's probably going to be off increasingly. As no. This thing is so accurate. I can zoom in, right, on nebulas far out in the distance.
Oh my gosh! Now you had to invoke the bullshit about space.
Yes, so I would
just
think
because
that,
you can see that doesn't mean that close to the surface, that's what's happening. If you have a wide enough angle off of the surface, you're fine. But when you get closer and closer to the surface, a lot of stuff is just converging, being dropped visually, and disappearing, making the level line increasingly unreliable towards the surface.
So as we know with refraction, those things rise visually. Things rise visually with refraction. Thank you.
That's because of their weird warped theory about how refraction works, like a straight line of like a string that's curving over a ball. It doesn't even account for the diffraction limit, where visual information is just dropped and disappears.
Okay, thank you with your word garbage, right? You don't even.
I mean, look at bacteria and the creepy crawlies that are in front of our eyes.
No,
we can't even see them because they're beyond the diffraction limit. So if you don't account for the diffraction limit, your refraction models are just useless.
No, that's completely wrong, right there. There's no real refraction.
This is so stupid, dude.
There's no real Okay, Mr. fucking hippie van man. So
hippie van.
yes.
Guys,
so
guys,
again,
if I can devices are needed.
If I can zoom in. Hey, if I can zoom in really, really far into the sky, I don't care how far you think it is. It's probably a lot further than the next mountain range over, is it not? Into the sky.
It's really big and close, though.
What?
What if it's big and close? That's why you can see it.
Either way, it's probably higher than the sun, which mathematically would be 3,600 miles in the sky.
It's just going over the surface and disappearing at the diffraction limit. Diffraction limit says two objects that are separated will eventually merge into one unresolvable object. Two light sources anyway. Light source 1 would be the ceiling. Light source 2 would be the floor. Eventually, they're going to merge into an unresolvable horizon line.
You can see further when you look up. Duh.
I can see further when I look up.
Distant objects, you can make out details on them that are larger than, or that are smaller than the amount that are obstructed.
But close to the surface, it's starting to merge and just smush and disappear.
So the diffraction limit magically becomes far larger just because it's close to the surface.
Close to the surface, that's where most of the diffraction and all of these effects are going to tend to occur. Further away from the surface, you're going to be tend to be okay. That's
Yeah,
what
but
it
there's
is.
less.
Just like
There's less
normal.
obstruction. There's less obstruction.
Yeah.
We all know it.
So it's just a wall of light. It's not a wall of Earth curve.
Yeah,
It's just
this,
a wall
so,
of
this
light.
still doesn't explain why I can look down at a sunset, Lemon Bird.
Wow.
Well,
See,
you
all
need to
you guys can
establish your
do is
level
run
line
away.
first. So I challenge how
running
you
away,
establish your
dipshit.
level line, and I think it's unreliable. So I challenge that.
Highly accurate telescope. You can set to 0, straight ahead, right?
You can see
Just
forever.
an arbitrary setting on an instrument doesn't necessarily concord with reality. You need to
Which
check
no,
it
it
with a
absolutely does.
laser.
It absolutely does.
Which is exactly why I said none of that is needed. You don't need any device, any theodolite, anything like that to know that something that is above your eye line is appearing below your eye line.
Okay,
You
so
can be
you're
at the
going to go with
beach.
that
You
eyeballing,
can
but
be
you're not going to use a laser.
Lemon, King Obfuscator. Hold on. You can be at the beach above the surface of the water. There could be a park bench lower than you. Okay, you can be watching the sun in the distance. You're watching a ship in the distance. At the point where the ship or the sun appear below the bench, which is below you, okay, those two objects, which are above your eye line, because ships are much bigger than you are, the sun is much higher than you are, okay, when they appear below the park bench and are now obstructed by it, this tells you, without a device, without any device at all, that those objects are appearing below your eye
Check
level.
your eyeballing with a laser, otherwise what you're saying may be
Hang on,
totally
emergency
off.
question. Emergency question. Can Lael be unmuted?
Wait,
I
hold on,
asked.
hold on, Lemon Bird. If we know that
Hey,
refraction
fuck
is a
you,
thing,
squatty.
hold on. If we know that refraction is a thing, why would we ever use lasers to determine level?
Because lasers don't refract 8 inches per mile squared, and that can be calculated. It's still the straightest standard that we have to physically determine
hold
if
on.
something is level or going below an optical.
Is it straight? Or is it not straight?
It's the straightest thing that we have. It's
So
straight
is
enough.
it straight? No, it's not. There's no such thing as straight enough. Is it straight or is it not straight?
What do you mean by straight? Like perfectly straight with no deviation? In real life, we're not going to have that, but it's still the straightest thing that we have.
No, it's
Is
not.
it any straighter
You have
than
a
other
standard for
light?
perfectly straight, which doesn't match reality.
Hold on,
so
Lemon.
even-
is
so hold on.
laser light straighter than any other light?
It's the straightest thing that we have within cost constraints. They talk about
Is it
neutrinos, but
straighter than
neutrinos
any
are
other
like
light?
these
What's the
experimental
question?
particles.